Hello, it's Phillip Taylor speaking from Richmond Green Chambers in London. Today I'm reviewing a book which has come to us from LEXISNEXIS, which is part of, or certainly part of, now taken over, the Jordan's Publications organisation, and Family Law, the imprint for Jordan's Publishing. I'm very grateful that Lexis have taken this over, because this is an important book. Financial Remedies Handbook, now in 11th edition, written by Bird and Julie Exton. It's a first-class book for anybody involved, as I am, in family practice matters, because it does give you at your fingertips a lot of information, some of which I've built up over the years, some of which I've forgotten, but it does actually help me, and it helps anybody, I think, try to understand the remedies issues that are available. I also think it's very helpful for people who are unrepresented parties. The reason I say that is because obviously there are a large number now not obtaining legal aid when it comes to trying to sort out the financial problems on the breakup of a relationship. Now, the title that we've given this review, Compact and User-Friendly for a Wide Readership, I've said, with great supporting materials for the modern litigant, and that's what you're getting. And I've used those words carefully, because clearly it's not just for people such as myself as practitioners, but also for people who are litigants in person. Here's the book. It's a paperback, purple cover this time. There we go. There's the spine. Then there's some detail on the back. A couple of quotes as well from some of the journals, saying what they think of the book. It's a first-class book. You can see the Lexis logo and the family law imprint from the old Jordans. Now you can see the index at the back is by paragraph numbering. So if you are looking for things, bear in mind it's the paragraph that you're looking for. References are to paragraph numbers. It says so in the index. It's always important to mention that, because sometimes it can throw you a bit. You think, oh, I'm looking for something, I can't find it. So you've got here quite a lot of information at the back. You can see bringing the subject, the actual detail of the subject. This is some of the statutory instruments which I included right at the back. And then you've got the family procedure rules, which are also included, which I think is very helpful. Now, going to the front of the book, you've got the main front page there. Now, Roger Bird has continued with the publication. I'll mention more of that in a minute. There's a very useful forward to what was the first edition by Lord Justice Thorpe, all those years ago now, October 1998, and this is 2017. It was a long time ago. But the detail about the book there. Then you've got a second forward by Thorpe, which is there. And then you've got the most recent forward, which has been written by Roger Bird himself, explaining what has happened, which I will mention in my my review. The law is as at the 1st of May 2017, and I'm recording this in the autumn of 2017. This is the list of chapters. You can see them running through there. Quite a large number of chapters in total. There we go. 24 chapters. Runs to 550 almost pages. And the appendix. The appendix is just called one appendix. It's not split into bits, but what it is, it's sections taken out of practice directions, statutory instruments and so forth, plus of course the FPR and the main act itself. So you've got quite a lot of information there. Then you've got the table of cases, and then after that, as to be expected, the statutes, and then after that, the statutory instruments, and then some European materials. And I know we've got Brexit and all that goes with it, but we're still going to have the European materials for a while, so do not worry. Table of abbreviations, very useful, especially if you're a litigant in person, and even if you're a barrister or solicitor. It's amazing how the mind can suddenly forget something. So you've got the abbreviations, very helpful. Then you have the actual book. Chapter 1, here we go, Introduction to Financial Remedies. You remember we used to call it ancillary relief a few years ago. It actually makes it a little bit easier to understand what it is. So you see the structure of the book. You've got paragraph numbering, And then as you go through the book, you can see there are obviously quite a lot of footnotes, which will give you the basic detail, a much greater detail that you may be looking for. As I say, a very useful book. I see it around on quite a regular basis in court, which I think is helpful. Obviously, I have the red book, the family procedure, the family court practice, and the procedure rules there as well. So what do we say about the book? Well, we say this: the 11th edition of this seminal work on financial remedies arrives in the nick of time, as many unrepresented parties now grapple with their own cases on a scale we've not really seen before. Notwithstanding, we may have changes from the back Commission report, but I think that's a long way off, frankly. However, we'll wait and see. Now, Roger Bird and District Judge Julie Exton are to be congratulated, and thank you very much to them for providing an up-to-date guide to the law relating to financial remedies in family law, encompassing the most recent case law. It's a boon to litigants in person too, and also undergraduates and professionals, anybody studying. Again, I didn't do for my bar course the family area, but I have practiced quite extensively in it since. And I do think these books are very, very helpful right from the beginning of the vocational course onwards. Now, as Bird says in his preface to the handbook, the higher courts have not been idle in interpreting and casting new light on what was previously regarded as established law. Moreover, he goes on to say that the courts have provided more food for thought to the lower courts and those in practice, that's us in other words, when determining and advising on the continuing flow of family disputes, which have not dried up even though the legal aid has. Those are my words at the end, but the fact is we've still got the problems and we've still got to try and deal with them. And this book makes our lives a lot easier, so thank you for that. Now, depending on what you're looking for, the new edition will give you materials on a number of contemporary areas which appear to be the subject of judicial interpretation, he says, or they say. And they cover the following topics: contributions, agreements, setting aside for whatever reason, and cases involving overseas divorce. Again, I think very important, because one of the things I have been involved in have been cases where the parties are not necessarily in this country, or they certainly don't come from United Kingdom or England and Wales. So therefore you've got a whole range of international factors. Certainly the cases I've mainly been doing, they've mainly been either Europe or Africa. But I certainly see the benefits of having something of this quality of this book available to assist in trying to get everybody, myself included, into the right frame of mind as to where we're going with the particular case. The book's been slightly restructured to remove the appendix which covered precedents. And I can understand why they did that. The writers have taken that decision because, as they rightly say, it serves only a limited purpose to include the precedents. And what they advise practitioners and general litigants to do is see the more comprehensive precedent source, which is available from the Jordan's Family Law Precedents Service. Now, I think when you're getting into that sort of level of detail, you're going to need that anyway, so it's probably a better way of dealing with it. And of course, we're very fortunate to have the expertise of District Judge Julie Exton, covering procedure and pensions in detail, as well as general advice from the coalface for the new edition. And I think that is very helpful advice indeed. I always said, know your judge, know what you're expected to do, and it will make things go a lot easier. And of course, Julie Exton replaces Andy King, who's now retired. And as with all the Jordan's Family Law imprints, the detail we're given does make our professional lives that much easier. And I think it helps explain for lay people as well, because you have got a much better educated group of people today. Many more people go to university. They certainly understand what's going on, and they should be able to read some of these books without feeling that they're completely lost. I mean, it's always a very difficult time for them anyway, but you can see the purpose behind that. Now, the paperback is now over 500 pages long. Obviously, the slimmed down appendices and the 24 chapters are there, but you have the relevant statutes, procedure rules, and practice directions at your fingertips, plus the cases. So If you need to refer to these materials quickly whilst you're in court or in conference, that's one of the reasons why it's very useful to have it. I haven't had to use it that often, but I've had a couple of instances that I can think of where this particular book has been very helpful. Apart from anything else, it's useful. I mean, obviously you've got the red book, but you've got this as well, because when you're dealing with the client, sometimes it can be very, very difficult set of circumstances. It's always useful to have these things available to pull out should you need to make a particular point. Let me conclude anyway by saying that Lord Justice Thorpe makes some wry observations in his second foreword, which I'm going to refer to here, ending with a fine tribute to Roger Bird, which is thoroughly justified. Roger's survey of the ever-changing scene is not just completely dependable, but also enlightened by an insight derived from his natural wit and his experience of the evolutionary history to which he has made such a rich contribution as judge, teacher and reformer. Thank you. Very fine words for a very fine book. And I'm going to finish on that by saying the book was published on the 29th of June 2017. The laws as stated on the 1st of March 2017. And as you gather, I like the book. It's good and it helps. There we go, there it is. There's the spine and then there's the back. And they're just opening it in the middle to show you. Here we go, procedure. Yes, you've got to know your procedures. There we go. Right in the middle of the book, procedure. This is transparency in final hearings, fields and fields, Mr. Justice Holman. So you've got an extract from a case, you've got the standard paragraph numbering at the side, you've got the footnoting, which I think assists, then you've got inspection appointments, variation appointments, interim orders, protocols, etc. There's a lot there. Then of course, chapter 17, costs. I will draw a veil over that. Length of skeleton arguments, now that's an interesting one, and I could think of a number of people I might be pointing that to very quickly. I think my record for a family law skeleton was something like about 40 pages, but the biggest record was 93. It wasn't a skeleton, it was a book. Thank you very much anyway to Roger Bird and District Judge Julie Exton, and of course, as I say, to LEXISNEXIS and Family Law Imprint. Very grateful. The service you give us is absolutely splendid, and we're very grateful to all. Many thanks indeed. Bye-bye.